Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at Fireside, live on Fireside on video. Second time doing video, and I want to thank Luisa for being so patient as we're getting everything worked out here. And she is my guest today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, and thank you so much, Ray, for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here and talk about a little bit of my experience as a runner. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And yes, you know what? I was trying to think how long I've known you for. It's definitely over 10 years, I would say.
You know what? You're right. Maybe about that time, because I remember when I began going to the runner circle, it was somewhere in 2012. And funny that you mentioned, I was going through some pictures, and I saw a lot of your pictures as to when you and I used to see each other at the runner circle and also doing some races. So it's been about that time.
Yes. Now, a Runner Circle is a local running store over here in Los Angeles, California, right next to Hollywood in a city called Los Feliz. And they're very cool because they've been doing it for about 15 years and they've been helping the running community kind of meet
Mhm.
each other, network for many years, sponsoring races. And that's how I got to meet Louisa. And after that, I seen her at so many different races I've done. And then along the way, you get to know people better, and I got to know your journey, and I was definitely feeling that it was inspirational to a lot of people, and it definitely needs to be told. So I invited you on. Thank you for coming on here and sharing your story. I always like to start
Thank
from the
you.
beginning. So I know you were born in El Salvador, and you were always into sports. I saw basketball. Did you get to play basketball over there?
That is true. Yeah, actually, when I was back home, being a little girl, I always try to get involved in some kind of sports, either ping pong or softball. Basketball was the sport number one that I chose um, because my brothers used to play basketball. So that was the only way that I had the opportunity to play with my brothers. So I used to play basketball for many years. That was the sport that I really, really enjoyed back then when I was a little girl.
And then as I was reading your bio, I know you said that when you did start running, and we'll get into that more, but you said a lot of people made fun of you because, especially in El
Yes.
Salvador, that's not something acceptable. So, was basketball acceptable as well, or was that also a
Basketball, no, basketball was acceptable. It was just running. I'm talking about back in 1978 when I began running. So running was something that wasn't not even considered to be a sport in El Salvador. And for us women, when I was a little girl by then, I was a teenager, it was a joke, you know. So I used to be teased all the time, not only by people that didn't know me, but even people that I knew, you know. So it was pretty sad to think that something so beautiful wasn't really taken seriously, especially when you're trying to do something healthy when you're a teenager and trying to build the self-esteem, and hearing all the negative comments. It wasn't really that beautiful. It wasn't a very good experience.
Well, I love how that didn't stop you and deter you from doing it because, you know, thank you for sharing some of the pictures. And if anybody wants to
Mhm.
take a look at them, you can see them on the athletic definition IG, which I'll be putting up soon. And there's pictures of you running races over there. And so I love how you just kept running. And was your family supportive? You and your brothers?
It's very funny. As I mentioned on my bio, I began running because my older brother has passed away. So alone, my uncle died. So my older brother was very close to my second brother, and my aunt and the three of us decided to start running as a way of grieving. So funny is that my older brother, that was very close to the one that passed away, discontinued running because he was a basketball player, and my aunt and I continued running through the years, and we began running by the month of November in 1978 because that was during my school vacation over there. We continued running in the mornings, and then we continued running during lunchtime, which you can imagine how crazy it was because it was not only lunchtime, but it was super hot, being in El Salvador in a very humid uh, kind of weather, and having just like an hour and a half to go home and eat, but we decided to go running and then go home and eat something quick and then go back to school. The only ones that continued running was my aunt and myself, but I never had the support of um, the rest of my family to come to see me to races. I grew up with my grandmother. My mom and my dad were right here in the United States, but I didn't have the support of my friends either. I don't remember having too many friends coming to see me at the races. Once again, running wasn't really popular by then. So we were just about maybe three girls at the beginning of the running career. And I don't know if you can see, but back there I have some of my bib numbers, and I have some of the certificates that I have over there for my races, for doing my races. And it was only like three girls at the very beginning. So the three of us used to support each other. Eventually, that turned on, we continued running and more people joined us. And then before I came to the US at the end of 83, we were about 10 women running. So that wasn't too bad, you know.
That's how it starts, a little movement. And you know, the more people I talk to, especially that work out a lot or got into fitness, it seems that I've talked to quite a few people that use uh, working out, running, any sort of just physical activity as an outlet for grieving. And I know it's been many years, but I'm sorry about your brother. And
Thank you.
how long did you find that it took you to you know, kind of get over that, or where the grief kind of turned into more like, I enjoy this, and I'm not doing it anymore to grief. I'm doing it because I enjoy it.
Well, very interesting that you mentioned that, or you asking me that question, because right after my brother died, we back home in El Salvador, we began the Civil War. So by then, running wasn't more for grieving my brother, but it was more to have some kind of dignity in life, because living in such a small, tiny country and having the Civil War and being a teenager wasn't really that easy. So I continued running just for the purpose that I began to like running. It was a way of expressing myself. It was a way of finding more self-esteem. It was a way of uh, to overcome the fears of living in a country where the civil war was happening. So I want to say that one thing led to another. So continue running just became part of my life. I in terms of the grieving, I think after so many years, you just go along with life, and you just keep the memories alive, and you just beginning to understand that passing away is a way of living. We all gonna go there somewhere. So um, I still thinking about my brother. Well, every day I think about him, and I when I go running, I always think about my brother too, and how that was the reason I began running. You know.
Yeah, when I read that, I can definitely relate. I've never had a brother, but I've had many people pass in my life, and I think I'm going to do a whole show about that because
Hmm.
you know, sometimes as you're getting ready for a competition, a race, death happens. A
Yes.
loved one, and then it kind of really puts everything in perspective, and so that's definitely a good show I want to do in the future. And so I
Hmm.
want to fast forward a little bit here. You got to United States. Now,
Hmm.
was it to follow the American dream? Was it because your parents wanted to bring you over here, or
It was a combination of different reasons. First of all, my mother was here since I ever remembered. She left El Salvador since I was 5. So I never had the opportunity to live with my mother and my father. They got a divorce when I was 10. Um, but I always wanted to come to the United States because, I mean, who doesn't want to be here, right? So um, but by the time I graduated from high school over there, that's when the Civil War was really, really happening, and it was number one, very dangerous to live there. Number two, I didn't see a future over there, because I'm very open-minded. I'm always trying to do the opposite of what people do sometimes, and over there was kind of I didn't see too many outlets for me to grow as a woman, as a person, and I wanted to see something new, and once again, coming to United States is a dream for many of us. So for me, it was a combination of different reasons, and mostly to be with my mother and to be a family and learn the language. By the way, if you happen to hear an accent, it's because this is my second language. So it was a combination of things. But I'm very very happy to be here.
And how was it like living in a country in a civil war? That's only something I've read about.
Ooh.
But like going out to a store, was it dangerous on a daily, like?
Let's put it this way: COVID-19 has been a test for a lot of us, right? Because we had to put the mask on, we had to be protected. So living in during the Civil War is something like that. I remember going out to the stores hoping and praying that nothing was going to happen to me, because sometimes I used to hear stories of people, just going to the store to pick up some kind of groceries, and there was a bomb, there was some dynamite at a place where people were shopping. So you never knew what could happen once you were be out of the house, or inside the house too. I mean, for many years, for the last 3 years I live in El Salvador, I used to have my mattress on the floor because they were bombing, and there were shootings in the middle of the night. So it wasn't really that pretty, but you learn how to cope with that, so you continue your life. And I went to a Catholic school, so I used to pray all the time, and praying was my savior, and another thing that is funny, when I think about how I never stopped running even during the Civil War, and how crazy it was sometimes, running on the training on the highways, and knowing that there were some parts of a body that was mutilated, just left on the streets. uh, you kind of start getting immune to that. So it was a way of living in a reality, but it was also something that you just don't want to live anymore. So it was tough. It was tough. Food was very rationalized. We had to stand in line to buy the basics sometimes, like rice, beans, and sugar and oil. So you can imagine how nutrition was so poor. When you're training for a race, when you're running, and the food is so limited. So that's why people used to make fun of me, because I used to be super skinny, like really, really skinny. I was 5'7", and I think I was like 95 pounds. So my shorts were very loose. So people used to make fun of me, tell me, "Oh, look at her shorts; they're almost falling down because she's so skinny. We don't know what she's doing running." And so it was critical, but at the same time, I think those are the things in life that make you stronger.
No, I definitely agree. And for anyone's interested, or just join us, thank you for joining us. I went ahead and put the Instagram of Athletic Definition up, and you could see some pictures of Luisa running back in El Salvador, and some of the old school pictures she's talking about as well. And yeah, I can't even imagine just running on a road and seeing just like mulet. I can't even pronounce it right now.
Mutilated
Mutilated
bodies.
body parts
Yeah.
as I'm going for a run. When I go for a run now, um, you know, it just like I don't think people realize how blessed they are where they live. Like, I can go a couple blocks up and I'm in million-dollar neighborhoods, and then I'll go a couple blocks down and I'm running with like prostitutes that are like half naked, drug dealers, homeless people.
Yep.
like on my daily run, and it's really such a night and day comparison that every day I think like how blessed I am because a lot of it, here at least you have the opportunity to decide what you want to do, like what type of lifestyle do you want to live, do you want to be, and I'm not saying every homeless on there is there by choice, but like you know, here you there's help, you can reach out.
That's so true. Yeah, right here we have so many opportunities. Growing up over there during the beginning of the running years of my life, I remember I used to use the same pair of running shoes. They were my basketball shoes. They were my PE shoes. They were my everything shoes because everything is so limited. Well, it was limited back then, and and then once I came here, you have so many choices, so many blessings, like you were just saying, you know.
And Louisa, on your bio, you're 56 years old, young, and you've been running for 43 years through Civil
Yes.
War, through momhood, through everything. And what else do you do besides running? Because I follow you and I see you doing the weights. What else? What other type of workouts besides running do you like to do?
When I first came here to the U.S., my mother got me a registration for a gym. I never gone to a gym before because we didn't have any back home, so I began doing weight training, and I loved it because I could see the definition of my muscles. So ever since then, I've been doing weight training. Of course, now with the uh, same kind of waves that I used to do when I was in my 20s, because I'm 56 now. So I need to modify my workouts. But in between that, I learned how to box, and I really enjoyed that because it was a way of doing something else for a woman. I was in my 40s when I began boxing, so I really enjoyed that. I've been doing kickboxing. Anything that comes out, I try, like the step aerobics, which I still do. I'm still doing the steps because I don't have a way of going on the bleachers sometimes. So then I had to use my stepper over here. um, uh, Recently, I signed up myself to learn how to swim because I never learned how to swim. So I'm going on my fourth week of swimming lessons, and I'm hoping that, and I know for sure that I'm going to nail the swimming part. So I do a little bit of everything. During the pandemic, I became a little bit creative because the trails were closed, and that's where I usually do my training. The gyms were closed, so I converted half of my gym into a little gym. I'm sorry, half of my garage into a little gym. So I have like a little weight station. I have a treadmill. I have a bench. I have dumbbells, and the whole point for me to work out is to enjoy what I do. Running usually, is the number one winning kind of sports that I enjoy. But if I don't have the opportunity to go, I create anything, like from doing my steps right here, or I do my lately what I've been doing, my merengue cardio, which I just turn on some kind of merengue music and then I just go crazy in my garage. So I'm always trying to do something fun. But totally running is the number one thing. So running and weight training, I will say, are the two that I enjoy doing the most. And I think one compensates the other. Weight training is what compensates my training for my races. As you know, when we do the 50Ks on trails, you need to have like a strong hips, strong everything, strong core, and weight training is the one that really gives me the strength to continue with my running.
Yes, I think that a lot of runners neglect strength and conditioning, and that's something they definitely
Hmm.
need to add, especially as you get into your older years. You just can't rely on one thing. And especially for the listener listening in, and thank you for tuning in. You're a mom and you have two wonderful boys that I've got to run with. Um,
Yes.
and I know they're a huge part of your life. And I definitely want to bring you back for what is it? I don't know if it's a whole week they give it or the month. Autism, is it a whole month they give it?
Or we have during the month of April we have Autism Awareness Month. During the month of July we have Fragilex Syndrome Awareness Month, and that's the condition that my boy have, Fragilex syndrome, which links to the autism spectrum.
Oh, so we just missed it in July then.
Yeah, we just missed it. But for me, every day is an awareness day, because uh, this is my life. This is my work. So for me, every day is an awareness day.
And there's a lot of people that have no idea what that is. What does that mean? If you could, give a little insight to.
Sure, very brief. Fragile X syndrome is a condition that links to the X chromosome, and there is some kind of protein that didn't make it to the X chromosome. And that's why, there is a mutation in the X chromosome. Sometimes there is just one tiny little part missing. And just to give a better idea, because I think a lot of people are more familiar with autism, it's very similar to autism. You met my kids, they're wonderful kids, but you need to get to know them to see exactly how they are, because there is a lot of symptoms, like speech delay, cognitive delays. There is a lot of, especially for my little one, he has a lot of anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and all that is due to the environment. So there is a lot of different kinds of symptoms in that condition. My two boys, they carry that that condition, but they're totally different. Maxwell, my older boy, he's loud. He loves noises. He loves to party. He loves to be with people. But Marky, my younger one, is the opposite. He's very quiet. He likes very mellow places and not too much noise. So the condition is very different. It really affects people in different ways. I myself carry the gene, so so far I haven't seen anything that is hitting me due to that, to be the fact that I'm the carrier. So but in the future, if I don't really take care of myself, I can have so many different things going on in my life. Anxiety is number one. I can have lupus. I can have heavy arthritis. Um, and I think the reason why, I haven't been affected to any of those symptoms is because the exercise, and the diet. Because, when you're getting ready for a race, or when you're doing some um, kind of sports, or you just like to work out, nutrition, takes a big part of it. And I'm not going to say I'm a perfect 100% healthy person, but I try to eat as healthy as possible. So once again, I think, running has been such a great outlet, not only for myself, but also for the kids to be on the healthy side.
Yes, that's one thing I wanted to mention.
Hmm.
I've gone running with them, and
Hmm.
also I read that you kind of become their coach, and I always see you training them, and I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
How do you know, like, when they're just kind of being lazy, or when you kind of have to push them a little bit?
Oh, well, I think it's a everyday kind of situation, especially with so much going on these days. A lot of kids, they just want to watch TV or being on their phones. So I made sure that at least once a day, 6 days a week, they do something, some kind of workout. So that's why I created this little gym in the garage, so they can do some kind of workouts. I know for Marky, my younger one, it can be different because he has sensory integration issues. So sometimes the environment can be too overwhelming, and that's when I need to really think, okay, what can I do to motivate Marky, or what can I do to push Marky a little bit more, because I don't want him to be in the comfort zone. Um, when I began taking Marky, my younger one, to the runner circle where I met you. Uh, it took me a while. First, I talk about it with Marky. Then we drove by the store. Another time we went to eat across the street. Another time we crossed the street to walk by. And then another time I went when there were runners, and that's how that's how I do it, and I know there are times that sometimes it is way too much, so I don't push it that much, but I always push a little bit.
Oh, that's interesting. So little by little, you took them to the store, kind of let them feel comfortable with the area.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then how many marathons have you done total?
Oh, boy, I just don't know. I I don't know, maybe like 40,
That's
40,
amazing.
maybe a little bit more than that. I kind of lost count because I think at the beginning when you started running, when you begin running, you start counting every single thing you do. Uh, so now I just do it. So maybe about 40. You
And
know.
what about okay, so a marathon is 26.2 miles if anyone
Hmm.
listening in doesn't know. Um I think the casual runner or just the average person will always come up to you and be, "Hey, can I run that marathon 5K with you?" But a 5K is
Yeah.
3.1 miles. It's kind of a short from the you're missing like 23 point something miles. And so you've done an ultra. Have you done a few ultras, which is more than 26.2
Hmm.
miles? Have you done a
Yes.
couple of those as well?
If I done, I'm sorry, what?
You've done more than one or just one ultra?
Actually, I done about, I want to say 14, 50 Ks. And for me, that has been the best experiences in running. Uh, and I might go a little bit forward on this conversation, but about 3 years ago, I set up this goal to do 450 Ks in 4 consecutive months. You know, and in between, I have some marathons, for example, the LA Marathon, and I had a few half marathons. And I was very happy and very proud of myself to accomplish those 50Ks, 450Ks in 4 consecutive months. So um, it was a big accomplishment for me to do that, and also it was a good way to learn how to do back-to-back races, because a lot of people are under the impression that when you do, and I read this in many places, that when you do a marathon, it takes a whole year for the body to recover and to be back to normal. So when non-runners, happen to know that I have done a 50K on a Saturday and a half marathon on Sunday, they're like, "What? Don't, aren't you destroying your body?" Because that's the first thing that comes into people's head. Aren't you destroying your body? No, you're not, because at least I don't feel that way, because there are so many things that you do to replenish the muscle tissue, to strengthen the body, your muscles and your ligaments. And I can't wait to do that again if I if we go back to normal with this pandemic.
Yes, well, as of now, the Los Angeles Marathon is still scheduled for
Hmm.
November 7th. Are you training for that? Are you
I am training. I am training for the LA Marathon because that's one race I don't like to miss. You know.
Yes. That is
Yes.
my first marathon. It's the one that started it all for me and I only wanted to do one. So the fact that this will be my 15th consecutive year doing it to me is like amazing.
There you go.
I didn't do it for anybody but me. So for me, it's a big accomplishment, and some people may not think of it, and that doesn't bother me at all. It's basically what motivates you to keep going. And I definitely seen your boys running with us in the past.
Mhm.
Have they done a marathon?
No, not really. My older boy, has done
Right.
half marathons.
I think I've been in a race where I seen them do a half marathon.
Yeah, he have done the San Francisco half marathons a couple of times, twice actually, and the biggest one. and it's funny because it was a half marathon too, but last year he did the LA marathon half marathon, because we were doing it. I always, every time I do the LA marathon or any other kind of race that I can give back to the community, I like to get into charities. So for the last, I want to say 10 years, I've been doing the LA marathon for the Train for Autism. So I do fundraising events for that. And because of that, Max was able to do half of the marathon. So that was one of the biggest accomplishments and dreams that I had, to have Max running with me the end of my 13 miles.
Well, talk a little bit more about, is it just one charity you work with, or I've heard of the running one and I'm familiar with them. It just them you work with, or more than one?
Well, I actually I have run for different charities. I used to run for the charities that we used to do fundraising for foster kids, for programs for people with special needs. Train for Autism has been the last one that I've been running for. But every time I do a race, I try to make sure that, and I do my little investigation before I sign up for a race. Uh, I enjoy it more when I know that part of my registration fee will be towards going to a charity. So, but officially, I run for the Train for Autism.
And tell us more about that charity for those listening in that never heard of it.
I'm sorry, what?
For the people that have never heard of that charity, what do they do exactly?
Oh, Train for Autism. That's actually an organization. It's a nonprofit organization, and all the funding that they get from the LA Marathon, or I think they also participate at the for the Long Beach Marathon. All the donations go towards families that have been affected by a member with autism. I know the last time they, with the money they got, they collected from the LA Marathon, they bought this minivan and donated to this program for people with autism because they didn't have a way of transporting their consumers from one place to another. So they also have a gym in Carson. It's a CrossFit gym, and they have free registration for any family, any family that has relatives with autism. So they empower the community, the autism community, by exercising.
And that's Carson, California.
That is in Carson, California. Yes.
Oh, that's great. So, if I understand, that gym lets people with autism train there for free.
Yes. Yes. Totally. Totally. Yes.
And do they
Yes.
have like special programs for people with autism, or it's just we'll go in and work out yourself?
No, everything is designed for people with autism, for children, from children to teenagers to adults.
Oh wow.
And they also have competitions, CrossFit competitions for for people with the autism community.
Oh, that's great to hear. I had no idea it was so local. I'm gonna have to reach out to someone at that gym and talk to them so they could give us more information about their
Well,
gym.
thank you for asking. That's very kind of you.
And is there any other organization that that you work with?
Right now, I think that's the only one that I'm more familiar with because I really focus on that one. I know within the Fragilex syndrome organization that I belong to, we have a 5K every year, to promote more awareness and also to give an opportunity for our community affected by the Fragilex syndrome to participate in their 5Ks. Um, Sadly this year we couldn't have it because of the pandemic, but that's another organization that I participate.
Well, most races that got canceled due to COVID went virtual. You guys didn't consider doing the virtual?
Not this year. No, we didn't do it. It I just don't know why, but I wish they would have done it because it would have been a great way to continue with the awareness on Fragile X syndrome.
Yes, because next year when they do have it, I'd love to show my support and
Oh,
just help
thank you.
promote it and let me know, and I'm more than happy to share that information or have you back on as my guest.
Thank you, Ray. I'll be very happy.
And so you've done over 40 marathons, run ultras. You're a super mom. Came over here, and what else do you have planned besides marathons?
What I have planned, just to continue running, now that I'm learning how to swim, I hope I can do something else, maybe a triathlon or something, Of course, I had to go back to my cycling because that's another thing. I didn't know how to ride a bicycle when I was a little girl, and people were like, "What? You don't know how to ride a bicycle?" I'm like, "No," because first of all, we only have one for four of us. So my brothers used to take over the bicycle, and whenever I wanted to learn, they would push me, so I would fall, and there it was. I never learned how to ride a bicycle until I was 32. So, so now that I'm learning how to swim, I'm thinking, well, maybe I can do a triathlon. You never know, right?
I can't. Well, I can swim. I just can't float because as soon as I get tired, I go under. If I could learn how to swim better, I have a Ironman. That's the only reason why I want to do it. I want to do an Ironman. I want to.
There you go. There you go.
Then the other thing is, I don't know if I could sit down on a bicycle for over 100 miles. That's a long time for my butt.
I'm
I don't
sorry.
know if I could take. I'll have to put like a pillow back there.
Well, you never know. It was funny because when I turned 48, I was exactly on my birthday. I was going to the Hollywood sign. I was running and coming back from over there. Somebody asked me, Luisa, so when are you going to do a 50K? And I said, well, maybe I'll do it for my 50th birthday, right? So that got into my head. And I actually did my first 50K when I turned 49 and a half. And then, because I wanted to do a 50K somewhere close on my birthday in July. So I actually ended up doing that 50K in December. And then I did another 50K. I think it was, let's see, I Leona Divide, I think it's in April, right? So I did another 50K before I turned 50. And then I attempted to do another 50K somewhere in August. Bulldog, I don't know if you know about the race. Um,
Yes, and when you say attempted, did you not make it?
I didn't make the second cutoff.
And for everyone listening in, Bulldog, what the longest one's 31.1 miles, I think.
Well, the 50K is 31.2, 32, you
Yeah,
know.
and that one is one of the tougher ultras for that length,
Mhm.
and it's basically a loop, right?
Yes, it's two loops, and it's super hot. The elevation, I think the gain elevation is about 10,000 feet. But the reason I didn't make the second cutoff is because I didn't know there was going to be another cutoff, you know. So there I was taking my sweetest time, pre-pumping my fuel to continue going, and I didn't make it for 11 seconds, So it
Oh,
was
wow.
it was really because I really wanted to continue going, but I was not allowed to. So, but even though after that, I continued going for more and for more and for more. So, um, now that I'm a little older, or 56, and I've been running for 43 years, I've been having some kind of condition on my knees. I have osteoarthritis, and my running performance won't be, that great. But I won't give up. Continue going until my body says no. Hopefully, I can do. I don't think I can do 100 miles, but you never know. You never know. That there is a race where you can do 100 miles in 2 days. So maybe.
My first Los Angeles marathon was in 2007, and that year I ran it. They had the last mile dedicated to a doctor who passed away, and I think he passed away like at 90 something. But he ran that LA marathon for like 5 years, and I think he started in his 90s. and his whole thing
Mhm.
was like, it's never too late to get in good shape. And that always kind of stayed in the back of my head. I thought that was cool, and I thought it was very nice that they paid like honor to him in the last mile. And you know, I
Mhm.
will. I hope that I'm still able to the last day, just kind of like him, to
Mhm.
people be like, oh, he went out doing what he loved. He didn't stop to the last day.
There you go. Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, life is a gift, and I think as long as the mind keeps going, the body can go too. Because as you know, you as a runner and as a martial arts athlete, you know that sometimes you just need to put your heart. I want to say most of the time. Sometimes your physical body is completely gone, but then there is something inside your heart that tells you, no, you can't just quit right now. You need to continue, and you just keep going. My grandma is 100 years of age. Um, and she's my example. She's the person I wanna be at 100. Of course, I'll be running. So I hope. So I hope I get some of her genes so I can continue running. Like you were just telling me about this doctor, 90 years of age. I mean, you get to know that the most inspirational people in any kinds of sports. And in the running community, we have so many runners that are pretty, I don't want to say all because for me, like I mentioned before, age is just a number, Um, but some people that are over 70, 80, and they're still running, in good conditions, good
Yes,
condition.
yes. I can't remember her name. I think it was Harriet. She
Harriet, yeah.
I got to meet her a couple times in San Diego. She got
Mm-hmm.
really kind of famous for being like a older,
Mm-hmm.
like grandma runner, and she would do the half
Mm-hmm.
marathons. And I I love people like that, and that's why I wanted to have you on.
Thank you.
Anyone that comes from a country that was at civil war, and being made fun of because you want to run and it's not popular and it's not really a woman thing, and then you come over here, and we didn't even really touch on the fact that you know English is your second language, and you have to learn
Mm-hmm.
it, and you have to kind of keep pushing through that as well. And then having to learn to adjust. Just being a mom is difficult, but then with your children's autism, then I don't know. I feel as a parent like it's hard to have patience just for your regular kids. So
Yeah,
I just feel your patience is so, like, every time I see you, it's like you're always so patient, so nice, and
thank
it,
you.
it's great to see and know people like that. And I wanted for other people to hear it, and hopefully somewhere someone out there will hear this, and maybe will keep going when they thought they couldn't. And uh, it's always good to know, hey, there's other people that did it, and how did they do it?
Exactly. Thank you so much. Those are very kind words from you. Again, I think when you run, when you become a runner, and you know what they tell you when you do your first marathon, if you can run a marathon, you can do anything, right? And that's pretty much what empowers. That's what really boosts the energy and give us the power to think, okay, I can do this. And I mean, it's not like if you wake up today and say, well, tomorrow is the LA Marathon, I'm going to run it. No, you have to be consistent with your training, not only physical, but mentally. So I think, having the patience to wait. Back in the days, when I began doing the LA Marathon back I think it was 1980. Actually, on my bio, I said that 1991 was my first LA Marathon, but it was not. I made a mistake. It was back in, gosh, I forgot. Back in the 80s. We didn't have social media. So I didn't know about any other races. The only one that I knew was the LA Marathon, and that is because I used to work at this office at the Superior Court, and they were selected to be a charity for the LA Marathon. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna run the LA Marathon. And they didn't believe me I was gonna do it. The people that work right there. And that was the first time I did a fundraising for the LA Marathon and my first LA Marathon. But that was the reason why I knew about the LA Marathon. I came to this country, I continued running because it was part of my life, but I never got into any races because I didn't know anybody that running my family or my friends. Plus, I'm learning a new culture, a new everything. But when I ran the LA Marathon the first time, I'm thinking, you know what? I can wait for the next year. And I had to wait a whole year for the next LA Marathon because we didn't know about any other races. Now, with the social media, there are so many races. You wish to clone yourself to do many races in one day, But so that's how you learn how to be patient. You
So
need to wait.
when you signed up, did you have any idea of how long 26 miles what you were actually signing up for? Because a lot of people like, yeah, it's gonna be fun, and their friends do, and then you're like, wait a minute, because I had no idea what 26 miles was before I ran it. I had no clue.
Well, I actually had the opportunity to run my first marathon in El Salvador.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was kind of challenging because my country is so tiny, Um, so I had that experience. And I remember that they rained also, but it was a tropical kind of rain. So it was nice. But in my head, I didn't think it was that long. But running LA was a different story because you go from back then, we began at the Coliseum and then we went from there to downtown LA, from downtown LA to Hollywood, from Hollywood to Wilshire District, and then from the Wilshire District to somewhere back to part of LA to go back to the Coliseum. So it was a long, long way, and now, when we do this the last marathons, going from Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica Pier. You go from one side to the other. It is a long way.
It is, and now I'm curious since you mentioned you ran a marathon in Salvador, especially back in that time. How was the support? Was there people supporting you along the way, or even like people giving water or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, we had all that. It was very poor. It was very poorly attended by spectators. But by then there was some kind of support. Because by then we had already started running for 3 years. So our organization was already open for 3 years. So it was poorly attended, but there was some kind of support. You know.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm fascinated actually that there's races like that because even now like uh, I guess to try and get tourism in Mexico, I get free races as long as you're a United States citizen. You can do a bunch of races over there for free. But
Mhm.
I'm always thinking, well, what about the water? What about the support? Because
Yeah.
if I went there, I'd have to run with my own back hydration bag because I don't think I could drink the water over there.
Well, you're at a different country, so of course you're gonna take care. You're gonna take safety steps.
Yes, that's one thing I want to do. So technically, you've ran a marathon in more than one country. Uh,
Technically, yes. Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. That's something I would love to do. And
Thank you.
do you have any website, or I know you're raising charity? Anything you want like to promote specifically right now?
Well, right now, since everything is pretty much frozen, I don't. But very sadly, too, I was looking forward to run for the Train for Autism again at the LA Marathon. But it looks like the charities are no longer available.
Oh no.
So I just need to look into something else because once again, when I give back to the community, I want to give back to something I know is legit, and something that will make a difference in the community.
Okay, well,
So,
this show is exclusive live on Fireside, and so
mhm.
maybe it'll probably be out on podcast like in 3 to 4 weeks. So
Okay.
by then, if you know, let me know and I'll add it to the episode.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank
And
you.
let me go ahead and just, if there's nothing else you wanted to add, I'll go ahead and close off. I wanted to thank you very much for being my guest, Luisa, and joining me and
Thank you.
just sharing more of your story with me. And I wanted to thank everybody who has been hopping in and out and everyone who's listened in the audience and around the world. This is your coach, Ray Z, which is your host of Athletic Definition. And I lost track of how many episodes it is because I'm just having so much fun. And I think it's great. Like, I've met so many cool people like Luisa that I finally get to spotlight and bring onto a platform. So I
Thank
hope
you,
you
Ray.
enjoyed it, and I hope to have you on here in the future. And you can find me. Oh, tomorrow I have two shows. I usually don't do two shows, but I have a guest I've been trying to get for like a month and a half. So at 5 p.m. I have Rebecca, who's a wellness competitor, and then I have after that the Native Runner, which is a Native American to the United States, and he's a pro runner. And I've never met one before like that, so I'm
Wow.
so interested. And then when you read his bio, it's impressive. So I can't wait to. His name's Dylan. I can't wait to do a deep dive with him as well. So please be sure to join, and welcome to Fireside, Louisa. You're more than welcome to hop in anytime
Thank
and
you,
join
Ray.
the conversation.
Thank you, Ray, for having me. It was really great. I can't wait to come back to your show again.
Thank you, and I will bring the robot up.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.